put her on Abilify, but she's had so many side effects that it just, she's worried that she's going to have no voice in the system, in the process. That's her worry.
Okay. That's a very valid concern, so thanks for bringing that up. So one of the main strategies in DBT is validation. So DBT therapists are trained in how to validate, which is basically a really fancy way of saying empathize and listen to really well and tune into. So someone that's properly trained in DBT will be doing that.
Okay.
So, as for the Abilify, that will help with some of the mood swings. Obviously someone with borderline struggles with pretty extreme mood swings. Mm-hmm. But, of course, the Abilify itself isn't going to take away the borderline.
Right. Yeah.
No,
okay.
Patrick, you said that was self-diagnosed.
Yeah, I think you and I have had conversations about this, and mm-hmm. I've worried that she's one of the strongest people I've ever met, but she self-harms because she feels empty, and that was what got me thinking about this. And she has anorexia.
Okay. Well, as you probably know, we're not supposed to diagnose over the radio, but I will say this: that you're probably onto something. So mm-hmm. it's worth looking into.
Yeah, her treatment team has agreed with what she had to say. So she got an official assessment from her therapist.
I don't know about you, Dr. Reutter, but I think dialectical behavioral therapy, knowledge of it, could help anyone, not just anyone diagnosed with certain diagnoses, but for us to be mindful in the present, being able to react, not with emotion, but logically, and to be able to think before we speak and before we react, and to be able to calm ourselves down, try to be in the present, be mindful, try to use gratitudes. I don't think that is harmful to anyone.
Yeah, Timothy, I totally agree with that. In fact, I think that's really one of the reasons that DBT has kind of taken off as a model, is because, who out there needs to be more aware and present? Who out there needs to manage their emotions and deal with triggers? Who out there needs, some relationship skills once in a while? Well, the answer is we all do.
Absolutely. And to not overreact and to be able to process and be patient and not be impulsive and so forth. And Patrick, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for answering my questions.
Absolutely. And have a good day. And thanks again.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, Patrick.
See ya.
Bye. We have another caller waiting, but it's time for our second break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment.
We will return to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner after these messages.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
The pressures of modern life can be overwhelming. Nobody can go it alone. Tiffany can help. Tiffany Werner is a Florida licensed mental health counselor located in beautiful Safety Harbor. Slip away to her private office or conduct your sessions via the internet from the comfort of your own home. Much like with dentists and doctors, regular visits to counseling can help maintain your mental health. Tiffany Werner's counseling experiences in correctional facilities and private practice led her to author a book titled, There's a Light Within You That Never Goes Out. These are true stories of abuse survivors that have overcome a traumatic past to lead happier lives. The book is available on Amazon in hardcover or paperback or through the website momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Regular mental health maintenance is an investment in your own quality of life. It's not a sign of weakness, but a strategy for staying strong and improving your coping skills. Contact Tiffany Werner today at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com.
Hi, this is Tiffany Werner, your host of Moments of Clarity. I'd like to give a shout out to musician-songwriter Don Lawson, who wrote, produced, and performed all the vocals and instruments on my Moments of Clarity theme song. Don gained his inspiration as a mental health counselor himself. He's always looking for artists to record his songs, and you can hear more of Don's music at reverbnation.com/Don Lawson. You can also check him out on Twitter at Don Lawson Music. Thank you so much, Don, for your contribution to Moments of Clarity and ending the stigma on mental health. It's awesome.
This This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Now back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor. To engage in the conversation, call 866-826-1340. Here's Tiffany.
Hi, welcome back to Moments of Clarity. My name is Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today, my special guest is Dr. Kirby Reutter. He is a specialist with dialectical behavioral therapy, trauma, post-traumatic stress, and he's spoken on TEDx and is a doctor and certified in so many areas, as well as licensed mental counselor, etc. He's published 3 books and journal articles, and I want to welcome back to Moments of Clarity, Dr. Kirby Reutter.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you so much. Before we went on break, we were kind of summarizing about how your father went to Vietnam, came back, and you witnessed what post-traumatic stress looked like from a young age, and that's what kind of got you into psychology, and then also working with teenagers and young adults in a youth program. I've done that myself, and I think sometimes starting starting in the beginning, I don't know. I like to see change start young in life, and hopefully hope people reach their full potential into adulthood. And so I applaud you. And so anyway, so before we went to break, we had a caller, Jean-Guy. Jean-Guy, welcome to Moments of Clarity. Thank you for calling in.
Hi, Tiffany. How are you today? Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in. I just wish the internet connection was a little bit better for Facebook, but besides that, we're doing great.
Yeah, that's okay. I was able to watch a bit of it on YouTube.
Oh, thank goodness.
The stream over there is running great. So my question for Dr. Reutter today is...
Well, Jean-Guy, really quick, before you go there, Jean-Guy runs a podcast called PTSD, The Truth Behind the Smile. And he focuses on first responders, post-traumatic stress. And so I just wanted Dr. Reutter a little bit to plug your show as well, but
perfect.
And to let Dr. Reutter know that who you are. And go on with your question, please.
Thank you. I guess a bit of my background with Dr. Reutter is I've got a lot of history with PTSD, being a PTSD sufferer of my own. I did 11 years on the fire department here in southwestern Ontario. So I've done a lot of research. I operate my own PTSD peer support group as well. That, as you know, Tiffany, as well, we're now expanding into another city. Mm-hmm. So things are going great with that. And, you know, if it wasn't for the peers that come to those meetings, it wouldn't exist, right? So it's those people that reach out that are very important to these groups. And if it wasn't for people reaching out, well, we wouldn't be able to help those people either. But my question for Dr. Reutter today is, what is your view on EMDR? And if you've administered EMDR with patients in the past, what is the success rate based on whether it's their first time doing EMDR, second time around doing EMDR? I mean, I've done EMDR myself. I've done one round, then took a break for a while because it wasn't working, and I'm now working on my second round. So what's your view on EMDR? And, I mean, I hear a lot of success rates, but it's also a very difficult therapy, too. So I'm kind of wondering what your view is on it, Dr. Reutter.
Sure. So when you say you've done a round with EMDR, do you mean you've received it yourself or you've administered it?
I've received it myself. I did 4 sessions of EMDR as well. When on the 4th session, it was going a lot worse than better, so we took a break, and now I'm getting it done again. So, yeah, I mean, I just want to know what your view is. It's a very difficult therapy from what I hear, and I'm experiencing it myself, but what is your view on the success rate?
Sure.
For EMDR?
So, you know, first of all, I have a really high opinion of EMDR. Originally, when I was a fairly recent mental health professional, I was a little bit reluctant and hesitant, a little bit skeptical, maybe is the best way to say it. But I've been since trained in it myself, and I really like it. But here's the deal. EMDR, like lots of trauma models, will say, yeah, we can treat you, you know, as long as as long as you never have psychosis, or, as long as you don't have an addiction, or as long as you haven't had, X, Y, Z, on and on and on. And then by the time I'm done with all those lists of caveats, I'm like, well, then who am I supposed to treat? Because my clients, haven't had perfect lives and then one trauma and then perfect lives.
That's right.
No, that's right. They've had lots of trauma.
So now they're coming up with CPTSD and stuff like that. Complex.
For sure.
So that's why I personally believe you need to use multiple models. I'm not a big fan of this idea of just use one trauma model and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That'd be like saying, well, I'm a hammer carpenter. I only use a hammer. Well, that's ridiculous. So, the advantage of DBT is DBT will address some of those, deeply embedded personality, characterological issues. It'll deal with the addictions. It will deal with, self-regulation, self-soothing. In other words, it'll pave the way to then go on and do other trauma work, such as EMDR. But EMDR itself won't deal with lots of prior history. Sorry.
That's correct. And I did do DBT here in Southwestern Ontario as well. Whenever I was just being shortly released from the hospital, the doctor that was on call, the psychiatrist, he was running a DBT group, so he got me involved in it right away. My only concern with DBT, and now this is my opinion, my own opinion, but my concern with DBT is if you're freshly new to your diagnosis, or if you are, recently out of crisis, I guess we'll call it, DBT is very involved, and it takes a lot of concentration, and I had a really hard time because all this information is being thrown at you, and concentrating, as you know, with PTSD, is a very difficult task. And I just found it overwhelming. Therefore, I'm going to be enrolling in my second class of DBT just to kind of try to see what I missed the first time, because I was newly out of crisis, being released from the hospital probably 2 weeks before the group started. So all this information being thrown at you, I found was very overwhelming, and it's hard to concentrate on that, being the situation you're in. So my recommendation for people doing DBT, in my own mind, is hopefully they've come to understand what their journey is, or come to understand what they're going through, and are able to address it in a way that they can participate in the class, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because I did a lot of listening, and I'm going, what the hell are we talking about? I can't get it. I'm not getting it, right? And it's funny because I sat beside a class that did it 3 times, right? Because every time something, you just kind of...
3 times a charm. Sometimes we have to take it in a few times. We've got about 5 minutes left, so we got to wrap this up, Jean-Guy. And but then that's why I can close up with Dr. Reutter. The hour goes by fast. But
is it okay if I follow up with that?
Yes, absolutely. Just letting you know.
Okay. So I totally agree with your experience. And that was actually my experience as well. So when I was learning DBT as an intern, so I had an entire master's degree and half a PhD under my belt, and DBT was still overwhelming for me as a grad student. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, I can't imagine what this must be like, for those receiving DBT treatment. So therefore, I have made it kind of my life, my career mission to take DBT and distill it and simplify it into more palatable bite-sized chunks. So I have I'd be happy to follow up with you after this conversation. I have some resources that have done just that.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to hear about them. Yeah.
And how can you do that, Dr. Reutter?
I have a self-help workbook coming out in June through New Harbinger that does that.
I actually want that. I saw that for my groups, for my kids, for my clients. Yeah. So when is it coming out?
It's called the Dialectical Behavioral Therapy Skills Workbook for PTSD, coming out in June.
Awesome.
And what I do is I take all of these complex DBT concepts and skills and, all of Marshall Linehan's acronyms. He loves acronyms. And I just, I simplify it. I don't simplify, the clinical value embedded, but I just make it more palatable, on a self-help basis.
Cool. Okay. That's great.
You simplify it so that we can actually soak it in, use it, and apply it on everyday terms, and because I mean sometimes it gets so